You are listening to More Human, the show where we share the stories that encourage leaders to make their businesses and organizations more human. I'm your host, Jeremy Newlick. Five years ago, Stacy Taubman was a math teacher in suburban St. Louis, and she was witness to something that's been intellectualized for years. Young women, in particular, high-performing and achievement-oriented young women, had a tough time getting through high school, navigating parent and peer expectations, social pressures, personal development, and relationships. These things are really complicating. And often, the adults in their lives, they didn't really feel equipped to deal with them. And the kinds of trials that young people go through didn't present themselves in some typical way to Stacy. It didn't look like a cry for help. They were really subtle, and they were sometimes tough to see. And as she worked with more people, Stacy discovered that those complications, they didn't end when high school was over. Most of the challenges that these young folks went through went into adulthood. Except now you add to that list the default setting of most workspaces. It's male. And before the hashtag #MeToo movement had taken shape, Stacy and her partner, Kate Wiegmann, had founded Rise Collaborative. It's a curated community of ambitious women and a female-focused workspace. And it's the kind of space that doesn't exclude men, but it's focused on helping women shape their personal and professional careers. So they just celebrated their one-year anniversary a few months ago, and already they have aspirations for expansion into new markets outside of St. Louis. And just recently they launched a nonprofit arm of the organization, as well as a publishing house and a podcast. So Stacy and Kate have insight on what it means to intentionally shape a workspace, to make it something that's welcoming and organically collaborative. And if you're someone who is charged with leading an organization, shaping your processes and environments such that everyone feels empowered, it's critical. We sat down with Stacy and Kate about a year ago to get the story on what led them to their vision. And for Stacy, like I said, that starts 5 years ago with this tragic event rocked her classroom.
You know, it's crazy. I think about 5 years ago, I would never have predicted I'd be here. I was a high school math teacher, left and started a company called Girls Dreaming Big, which is a tutoring coaching company for high school girls. I'm super passionate about helping them figure out who they are and what they want to be, probably because I had no clue forever.
Were you still a teacher when you started that?
I was, January 2013, while teaching at Kirkwood High School. I would stand up and teach math and then sit down and be surrounded by these awesome, high school seniors and say, what do you want? What do you need? How can I help you?
Where did that come from? Why would you?
Yeah, so July 4th, 2012, there was a tragedy. A young woman took her life at a party, actually. And so just the aftermath of that was challenging.
Was a young woman in your class?
No, so she was going into her senior year. Her older sister was on, I used to coach the Pom Squad.
Okay.
So her older sister was on my Pom Squad, so I knew the family well. It's an awesome family, and so to have such a tragic thing happen, it shakes you up. And all of her friends were a mess, understandably. So just trying to help them navigate that year.
How did you hear about the story? What happened?
The girl who coached my Pom Squad, the girl who's an assistant coach of mine, she got the call from the sister. The older sister called Heather at, 3 in the morning. And, and then there were all sorts of events after the wake and student-teacher events. Just the aftermath of that was quite tragic and upsetting. And there was a lot of trying to figure it all out.
Right.
Yeah. So, those kind of things leave you asking questions.
Yeah. So you left, you went through this whirlwind of all these things you were assigned to be at, and you're constantly interacting then, probably informally with a bunch of young women who are coming to you and...
Yeah, listening to their struggles, and it was just a tipping point for me. I mean, high school is tough regardless. It was this aha moment of there's so many mixed messages and pressures that high school girls are facing, and who's helping them? I think there's a lot of people wanting to help them, their parents, high school counselors, but the girls that this affected are the high-achieving girls who weren't going to leave class to go to the counselor, because if you miss class, you're behind.
Right.
And part of growing up is pulling away from your parents. No matter how amazing your parents are, they stop talking to their parents.
Right.
So they're relying on each other.
Right.
And I don't know about you all, but me in high school, I wasn't equipped to, I mean, you're just trying to keep your head above water, let alone how do you support your friends through real struggles?
Right.
They're craving that adult interaction. They just aren't willing to admit it, and they don't know how to get it.
Okay.
So that was kind of what was this aha moment of I need to start something where they're willing to be a part of it and they have the supports they need.
What are the pressures that young women face in high school now that are nuanced or things that maybe most people don't have an appreciation for that were already there before the tragedy happened?
It's this combination of this social hierarchy. You know, there's so much pressure to be cool, to be popular. You know, get good grades. The perfectionism is rampant. I have to be in calculus by the time I'm a junior or senior. I mean, I have my degree in math, and I didn't even take calculus in high school. So it's like, what are you taking? What did you get on the ACT? What being like the captain of the cheerleading team, and but yet all by looking pretty.
Right.
Look pretty and look effortless. And
so it's like a certain circle that you're dealing in too, because it's this high achievement focused young woman who's also then has all those layers of social, political sort of pressures on her all the time.
And, you know, trying to fit in and wanting the attention, a lot of their self-worth is tied to who likes me, what boy, you know, is paying attention to me, and but yet I also have to do well in school. And those sometimes are conflicting, because doing well in school sometimes is not what's cool. Or the things that it takes to be cool don't really set you up for success necessarily.
So when you were doing Girls Dreaming Big, part of that was I saw a series of videos and posts and everything. And you're saying that's where you started to see that there were signals out there that actually even women as they age, it's not as though those same pressures don't exist.
Right.
Right? It's basically the same thing in adult suits.
So the problems are universal, whether they're 15 or 70.
Right.
They often are feeling the same way.
Right.
I mean, it's a little bit more nuanced, but some of the similar struggles are there. Some of that same mean girl sometimes.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. And so it was interesting. So yeah, when I left teaching, I didn't know what I was doing. I had one business class, business 1, 2, 3 at Mizzou, had a balanced checkbook basically. So I had to reach out to people here in St. Louis to help me. And all I knew was what it took to be a high school math teacher. What if a young woman wanted to be something else? So I started interviewing smart, strong, successful women.
Okay.
Informally first, and that ultimately it parlayed into video blog series.
Right.
And it was fascinating that they were craving the same things that the teens were craving.
Were there a couple of those interviews in particular you remember, or something that stands out from one of them that really something clicked for you in your head on?
You know, no, because what happened was it was like this culmination of after interviewing so many people, it was this aha, whether they were CEO of some major company or just starting out, the journey and some of that craving for those Me Too moments were there. You know, it was fascinating. I was so nervous on some of these interviews. These women, I never would have thought would have time to talk to me, went out of their way to tell me about their journey, and they had similar struggles, and they're just like me. So I thought about how much power that would be to have teenage girls in front of them.
Oh, I understand. So you're saying if they were having that same kind of interaction and they understood that actually these people look, think, and they have the same sort of fears despite, and that transcends any generational or achievement level stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. That was the kind of aha after, 300 of them.
Right. Right?
Yeah, but it's fascinating to sit across from somebody that you incredibly admire and listen to them admit that sometimes they wake up and are just as insecure as I am.
Absolutely.
That's powerful.
Sure.
Yeah.
So then that planted the seed for, well, I need to make a space or some kind of a place that could be female focused where everybody could feel like they were cared. How did it start? Is that where you were going? Or?
No, ultimately the original path was I wanted to create a home for girls dreaming big.
Okay.
I wanted to create a one-stop shop for teenage girls
Okay.
because I would see them at the library, I would see them at Breadco, and I felt like we could do better for them. I mean, those places are great, but like imagine if you could be somewhere doing your homework and have incredible women at your fingertips.
Mm-hmm.
You can't be what you can't see. So how powerful to be working your homework in the boardroom as some CEO of some company. That's game-changing. So, originally, yes, I set out wanting to open a space just specifically for the teens, and ultimately I had to pivot and decided to spin the model on its head and open a place for the women and house Girls Dreaming Big inside of it. Tech Artista was really a big inspiration for me. I loved what they were doing, the energy in that space, and
it's a funky place.
It is, but
Right.
it was cool because the people were, you could feel that they had a tribe there, right?
Yeah.
And Eric and Chris had a company themselves, and they placed it inside of it. So it was kind of the same thing. Girls Dreaming Big needed a home. And so let's create a home for it that has more power than it alone.
That's a communal home for
communal
Girls
home.
Dreaming Big. Right.
Yeah, and now I have this community of impressive, inspiring women at their fingertips.
The closest of which is Kate, who's in our studio.
Which I couldn't do it without her.
Right. How did you guys meet?
So I had just moved to St. Louis, gosh, I guess it was 2 years ago now. For anyone who's from St. Louis, they know that the first question when you meet someone is,
Where'd you go to high school?
where'd you go to high school?
Right.
And when you can't answer that question,
I can't either. I understand the pain.
It is. It's hard. It's like, well, you've never heard of it. And so it's such a community-focused community.
Have you tried making up one? Sorry to interrupt you. Because it's kind of fun.
I
Yeah.
haven't yet. What's your go-to?
I say, I'll try to just mash together a few of them. I went to La Vachon Rockwood.
Oh, good one.
And people are like, Rockwood? No, La Vachon Rockwood. Or you just kind of, mash together a bunch of names.
Yeah.
It's,
I'm going to try that next time.
Try it. It really confuses the hell out of people in
Yeah.
St. Louis. It's really fun.
Awesome. I need to try that. So I had noticed, I moved to St. Louis and
Very communal.
yeah, I just lacked that community. It also didn't help that I moved here it was, I think, Halloween Day. That we pulled our RV or moving van into.
You guys were living in an
St.
RV
Louis.
previously.
By the river.
I know. You're exceedingly more interesting than I ever knew.
The conversation was on. Chris Farley was in the van right next
Exactly,
to
right,
us.
exactly.
Yeah, it was good.
It's tough to find a good parking space. Sorry.
So we pull into St. Louis and winter hits, which is also a very isolating experience, whether you have friends here or not and connections. So I immediately, my husband was going to work. I was working freelance from our, at the time, temporary apartment. It would snow all day long. I wouldn't talk to anybody. I would just be there with my cat, my dog, and my husband would come home at night and be like, who'd you see? What'd you talk to? What's happening outside? It was very isolating. And
it's an odd scene. Sorry.
Totally.
Particularly the way you
Camera.
did it. Yeah, it was like The Room or something. He'd come you went out to the other world, kind of a thing.
yes.
Sorry.
Slightly. Yes. It was pretty much just like The Room. So that's where Stacy comes in somehow.
I got her out of the room.
Stacy burst through the door.
Hello.
Yes. So I was floundering. I was trying, I had a freelance business and trying to grow it, trying to connect, trying to feel a part of something, and wasn't getting that from doing what I was doing. And so I started going to those really awkward networking events.
Oh, we shouldn't bad talk any of them, but
No.
they're all kind of the same.
Yeah.
Not all of it. Not a Rise Collaborative.
Oh, not Rise Collaborative.
Good point.
But
We're not about networking. We're about relationships.
Nice work.
Thank you.
Yes.
But I know the ones of which you speak. Yes, rubber chicken, shoulder pads.
Totally. Yeah.
Right, gotcha.
And when you go there alone, it's super awkward. And anyway, I happened to go to several of them. One of them happened to be at a great wine bar in Webster. And after the awkward chit chat with people who don't know each other and will probably never see each other again, blessedly, there was this panel discussion. And there were two women that were being interviewed, one of which was this woman named Stacy Taubman, and
Stacy's doing jazz hands. Just note.
which feeds in very quickly, perfectly to what I was going to say, is that as she was talking, there was just this effervescence about her and her story and what it was that she was doing. I was just so drawn to. And I didn't know at the time, but as she's talking, I said, I need to meet this woman. I need to get to know her personally. I don't know what it is, but I just had this feeling
It was an energy thing. It wasn't necessarily, You were just like, I dig this person.
Yeah,
Right.
and at the time I thought, well, maybe she'll introduce me to, she seems like she knows everyone.
Right.
And so I was like,
She comes off as really important.
Oh,
yes.
no.
Yes.
I'm that person.
Wildly popular. And
People hate me.
no. So I said, well, I just need to meet this girl. I need to, surely she can introduce me to some, whether it be friends or business contacts or what have you. And little did I know that then when she agreed to go out to coffee with me. And
I think that's where she paused. What she didn't realize is when she came up to me, I was floundering. On this path, people have come and gone to help me because I don't want to do this alone. That's not why I started it. And, there's volunteer fatigue.
Right.
People can only stick by you so long when you can't pay them. And so I was at my wit's end, close to quitting. And I just kept saying, if I could just find somebody to do this with,
Wow.
I know I can accomplish this. I just need that person.
So it's
So when
providence.
Kate came up to
Right.
me, I immediately spotted how amazing she is on so many levels. I could just feel it. So I was like, I hope she reaches out to me. So when she wanted to have coffee, I was coming with a whole different plan. So then I'll give it back to you.
Sorry.
yeah, no.
Well, I know, Kate, your background's in journalism and PR. And
PR, marketing, writing. Yeah, I have a journalism degree. Went to the dark side, did PR and marketing for a while. Event planning, a little bit of everything.
Sure.
So
She fills a lot of my gaps.
well, it's interesting. I mean, I'm sure listeners here are familiar with Myers-Briggs. And it's funny, Stacy and I are opposite on every single letter.
Is that right?
Yes. And it's hilarious in the way that we communicate our strengths. I don't even know what secant. I don't even know what a secant is. I never even.
Oh, you're talking about the math word.
I know how to calculate tips. I mean, that's my extent of my math. I married an engineer so that I didn't have to do math ever again.
So Kate, describe the space. Describe what the thing really is. Just for listeners, if somebody's not at all familiar with what Rise is, what is it?
Sure. So the space itself was about 6,000 square feet. And we took that really open concept. It's, we walk in and it's wide open. In the middle, there's a big, luxury kitchen over there to the right where people can, fill up on their gourmet coffee and all that good stuff. Calde's coffee, yeah. Along the perimeter are some private offices. We have 11 private offices, as well as 4 different size meeting spaces. Then in the middle, there's a whole variety of different areas, places to sit, a little bit like a Starbucks or St. Louis Bread Co. would feel, or even a library, which is a place that Stacy had spent a lot of time in her teaching years and was really an inspiration. It's, that place, there's 2 tops, 4 tops, overstuffed leather couches, all of the different, places that someone might want to sit and either have a coffee meeting with somebody and have a conversation or open up their laptop, put on their headphones and dig down and work.
Yeah. When I was envisioning this years ago, I just kept thinking, I've experienced all these different things and some things I loved and some things not so much. So how do we take the best parts of each of these places and blend them into a space? I mean, that's what I love is that people come in and immediately comment on that. Like it feels like home. It feels safe and warm, but then it also feels professional. And
yeah, we really tried to have, excuse me, try to have a very residential feel to it while still being professional and a place that you could bring a Fortune 500 CEO to. We also, although being female focused, we're really conscious to not make it feel like a Barbie dream house. I mean, don't get me wrong, we do have 2 crystal chandeliers, but it's not hot pink and bubblegum, and there's not, a makeup station. And
we wanted to be gender neutral in some ways with pops of femininity. I mean, if you look at our logo, our brand from the get-go, it's all about soft and strong. You can be feminine but still have strength behind it. You don't have to go purely Barbie dream house to feel, like a good place for women.
Right.
Yeah. And it's been interesting seeing men walk into this space and how they react to it too.
Yeah, describe that for me. How do they feel when they walk in?
Well, it's funny. They're like, oh, they kind of have this, what is this moment? This doesn't feel like what I'm used to. And
But yet
I
like
feel
it.
comfortable.
Yeah.
But I like it. And then immediately too, they say, so what is this? So women only? We said, well, no, it's not women only. Female focused, male friendly.
Yeah, that's our tagline.
In fact, we do have a couple of male members too. So it's definitely not women only. And that's a good thing. We don't want to just be women only. That's not the world. That's not whatever. However, we do want to create an environment and a place that in many ways is contrary to most traditional or many traditional workplaces, which are dominantly male, and the women are the ones who feel I hate to say outnumbered, but they're the odd. They're
in the minority.
Yeah, they're in the minority.
Yeah, and that changes how you feel.
Absolutely, and how you carry yourself and
the armor you put on.
So for the business leader out there who is tasked with being intentional about some form of their company culture, what is it you guys have learned through what you've accomplished so far that you would encourage or you'd entreat any business leader to examine, or what would you have them know?
Well, I think there's a lot of gender biases. How do you even say that? And I think we talk a lot about, I think sometimes unintentional leaders are doing things, or, men that are coming from a great place. They just don't realize how some of their actions are making people feel. And so having really honest, safe conversations to unfold those.
Whether you call it a sponsor, whether you call it a mentor, I think as much as any business culture can do to help connect people who are, to create and foster mentorships and relationships between women within their community, I think that's going to only be, it's a win for the mentor and the mentee.
20, 30 years into the future, when you cascade into the future, what are you guys doing? What's your role? What does Rise look like?
Well, first of all, Rise is all over the world.
Rise is worldwide. You were already interviewed this morning by the French.
Yeah,
so.
well, it's so funny when they reached out to me. I was beaming because even before Rise was open on Instagram, I had a picture in Paris saying, like, this is what Rise Collaborative will look like in Paris. So my dream.
You really you do the whole like gift thing or whatever it is, or no, what is it?
I'm just the poster child of girls dreaming
What is the Oprah
big.
thing?
The vision board and law of attraction. Law of attraction is what the secret is all about.
The secret.
Yes.
Yes.
The secret.
You're a manifesting.
I'm manifesting. But, I'm on the fence on all that stuff.
Oh, no. I was just messing with you, but yes.
Absolutely. I mean, I am the poster child of girls dreaming big. I dream big. And I think Kate and I have seen the power of what we can do and how this really impacts people. I mean, it's only been a month and a half, 2 months in, and to hear our members and how game-changing it already has been for them, it's unbelievable. So,
what's the business world look like, though? If you guys were successful in, let's say, achieving your mission over the next 30 years.
Wow.
What does the business world look like?
I'm immediately thinking, toss to Kate. Lord.
That's
the same look that she has on her face.
I mean, so a couple of times I've referenced, as I said, there was a speaker that we saw. I can't remember her name, but the concept that she talked about was shine theory. Yes. She was talking, I was just sitting there with like my jaw, I had to pick it up off the floor. I was like, she is our people. She
gets what we're trying to do.
She does have a podcasting too, called Call Your Girlfriend.
And
she
Haley
went to Mizzou.
talks about this person.
Yeah, she was the keynote speaker at the Women's Business Journal conference.
Yeah, she went to Mizzou and she wore gold booties, and I was like, we are soul sisters.
Because Kate had on gold booties too.
Yeah, so anyway, long story short, I am obsessed with her concept and her message around shine theory.
Okay.
Because it is truly at the heart of what it is that we're trying to do, and it's Rise Collaborative, and it's our spirit, our manifesto, our mission, where I don't shine if you don't shine.
Mm-hmm.
And I would love, and also in that speech, when she said, women make up 51% of the population, what if in, Hollywood directors and Fortune 500 CEO companies, financial institutions, politics, what if women made up 51% of all of those jobs? There's really no reason why. I mean, the mathematician in the room can tell me that. So why is that? And so I would love to see, although 51% down there, it's a little bit of a pipe dream. But all the 30 years you talked about, I would love
30
to
years in the
see-
future. Yeah. We don't
it'd be
have to be
awesome.
right. I'm just saying,
to
what do
have
you
that
want
equality.
it to be?
Yeah, absolutely. To have more equality, keep more women dreaming big, more women, not just girls dreaming big, but more women dreaming big, staying in the workforce, having a work culture that encourages both a little bit more of a shared experience in parenting so that both parents can achieve whatever those dreams may be for them, whether, it's in staying in the workforce or focusing on family. But regardless, just having that would be my dream.
I love that. Yeah, equality.
Girls Dreaming Big is still going on.
Absolutely.
You're still doing that. It's still core. It's a home for Girls Dreaming Big. But what is in the future? What is kind of the system that you have in mind for the way in which Girls Dreaming Big grows within Rise?
So I see Rise Collaborative as the big umbrella.
Okay.
Underneath Rise Collaborative, we have a separate company, Girls Dreaming Big, which is the tutoring coaching company. So a lot of one-on-one services, after-school activities. Underneath Rise Collaborative also is a nonprofit arm, Rise Society, because we aren't busy enough. We like to have three things going on.
More.
Do more. I never
organizations.
realized, but I am a born serial entrepreneur. I would have never
She
told
is.
you that 5 years ago, but now I can see it.
Yeah.
So Rise Society is our nonprofit arm, and all these things, no matter where we open, will come along in the
Okay.
equation. Rise Society oversees the mentor program between our members and our teens. It oversees the scholarships. We will be providing scholarships to teens and women who couldn't afford having a membership at Rise Collaborative. And it oversees the social events. We want to have social events, speed networking, all sorts of fun things where teens are interacting in meaningful ways with our members.
Interesting.
So all of those happen together. And it's just a home. I see Rise Collaborative as a home. We want to be a hub for female empowerment. Done. And I wanted to bang on the table, truly, but I held back.
I think that's a good place to end it. A hub for female empowerment. Stacy and Kate worked for more than 12 months since that recording on achieving that vision and launching Rise. And we had them back in our studio after celebrating their 1-year anniversary just to get an update, and unsurprisingly, they crushed those goals. And they achieved much more than they even set out to do.
We joke we got it all done in 1 year. All the big life happenings. I got married. Kate had a child.
We opened a business and a nonprofit, and we
Launched a book.
and wrote a book.
That's
so
right.
Just a few things.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
moved, sold my house.
that's right.
So all the personal things that you would do over a lifetime as well as professional.
You packed it into 12 months.
Hey, why not?
It's a cycle sort of thing, right?
Yeah. So what's the next 12 months, right?
Right,
If we got it all
exactly.
done, what do we do next?
Right. Well, before we even go there, what are some of the stories you guys have heard from the people that have been a part of Rise that were the most inspirational to you? What were some of the folks who've come into your space?
Yeah, it's funny because just Friday I had this day that it was like, this is why we're doing it. All in one day, 3 things happened that were incredible, huge wins for us. One of our members is moving to London, so that's not a win. I'm sad that she's leaving, but we have a member that's from London. And so the two of them are standing there talking about where she should live, what she should do, and so that's so helpful. 2 other members met for the first time. I connected them. One is a cancer biologist, which is usually you don't have in a co-working space, so we're so excited to have her.
Right.
And then another is a chemist. And I thought, 2 scientists, they will love each other. They met, and they're now starting a company potentially.
No kidding. So you're able to orchestrate that sort of collision of people.
Totally. That's my favorite thing to do. And then the third thing, oh my God, now one of our members got a brand new awesome job because a different member helped her get it.
That's great.
So all in one day, we had these 3 huge wins, and that is happening all the time.
You built this thing before everything started coming out. Beginning with Harvey Weinstein and the hashtag Me Too movement, all that stuff. Before hashtag Me Too, you guys started doing this.
Mm-hmm.
Did that have an effect on you guys? Did you guys see it show up in your space? Did you see anything from the people that you're helping? Was it just like something that you kind of everybody kind of knew was there, so that was in your space, or like what was it like?
Surprisingly, we didn't see a huge ripple. I mean, I think what brings the women to our community is just wanting to be around amazing women. You know,
it's not about escaping men as much as it is being around like-minded and goal-oriented and inspiring women.
Totally. And so I think it's just that they're coming for a positive environment, and they're not coming necessarily because there's these huge problems that they're facing. And not to say that they're not facing those,
Sure.
you know, just to say that their why is because they just want to focus on achieving, they want to focus on rising, and they're just wanting to be around super positive women. And what, you know, that we were talking off air is that in our lovely manifesto that we made before opening, you know, we actually used that language. You know, people really, there's an incredible power in Me Too. And so it's been interesting to navigate that change. So I think this feeling of, I understand what you're going through, and I've experienced that, was an undercurrent of the company from day one.
It really was.
And
right.
so not that we were focusing specifically around sexual harassment, and not that no one in our company or no one in our community have experienced it, but it's bigger than that.
Sure.
You know, there's power in being around somebody that understands what you've experienced.
What's the significance of a group in the context of our culture right now, a group of women helping other women? Is that in particular something that you see that is interesting in terms of the environment you've created? Is it?
I think that's one of the best things about Rise. Yeah, and culturally, I think beyond Rise, it's just a huge movement that we just we were lucky to get started ahead of time, and so it's just really been a huge win. I mean, timing is everything in business.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, and I'm assuming then, like, if that's part of, you know, there's like a larger cultural narrative around it, and so what I would see then is like, and as you guys outlined, the what's next part, right? So, do you feel like that's carrying over into when you go to introduce yourself into Denver or these other markets that you're looking at? Is that giving some kind of like a more of a soft beachhead? In other words, it's like an easier conversation to have than maybe it would have been?
So I kind of view it as a blessing and curse, if I'm being honest.
Okay.
You know, it's a blessing because it's obviously something that's being discussed, and
Right.
it's relevant and people get it.
Right.
But I'll be honest, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, whatever it was when I was starting these conversations, people were getting it then too.
Okay.
And so, and they were like, what? This doesn't exist. When are you creating this? I
Right.
need this yesterday.
Right.
Right? Whereas this momentum is wonderful because it's catapulting us in many ways, but then the momentum is also creating that many more people doing what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where it's a strength and a shadow, like anything in life.
What are some of the exciting things you're working on over the next year then?
Well, as you've mentioned, looking at a space in Denver, so expanding, heading west. Rise is heading west.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
And specifically something you're helping to focus on and leading, taking the charge on.
From the publishing
Yes.
part? Yeah. So as we mentioned, we wrote a book. It was an anthology. And so it was a collection of stories from 17 different women who, Stacy and I, as well as other members of Rise Collaborative, just telling short stories of how they got to where they were, or influential moments and pivotal points to success in their career so far. And one of the sort of overarching things that we got back from all of the authors, and then also from some women who were interested in the concept of it but held back from joining and writing the book, was that fear of, I'm not an author, I'm not good enough. Do I have enough to contribute? And of course, every woman has her own story. It's just providing the support and the encouragement and the tools and the resources to connect with other women and help really craft your story in the right way. So as we look towards volume 2, and then also expanding the short story that many women started telling into perhaps a longer full-length book, we're going to be starting some workshops and programs to help women be able to become real published authors themselves and make that more of a dream for more women.
Wow.
Absolutely. So we're always looking for things to provide to our members in our community. I think for women, it's about access, opportunities, and being around other people that are doing it.
So Stacy and Kate have found a way to create an environment that's centered on the desire to be around inspiring women. They're making something that's much bigger than just the sum of its parts. So that's an encouragement to people, probably like you, who are creating mindfully your work environments, or at the very least, your own career. And what their example suggests is that you can create the kind of place that positive visions of the future are the center of how you make decisions. And that mindset can help you achieve more. And it creates a hub for your vision. Now, if you want to know more stories from Stacy and Kate, or go to their space, or buy their book, you can check out the links in our show notes at behumanproject.net. And there's always more that can inspire you. There's always more with Stacy and Kate. This has been More Human, a production of the Be Human Project. Editing and sound design by Khalees Walker, with art direction by Steph Sabo and Cass Arnold. And it's hosted by me, Jeremy Newlick. And we record and produce this thing at our studio at Big White Sky, a human business consultancy. And to subscribe to More Human, search for More Human anywhere you subscribe to podcasts. And to learn more about the Be Human Project, or if you dig anything you heard over the last few minutes, check out our website, behumanproject.net, and visit often. We love humans.